With precision, she takes the shot, ensuring her target has fallen, and picks up the empty shell casing as a token of her success. The narrative shifts to Levi, a former Marine and sniper, haunted by insomnia due to recurring nightmares. To cope, he spends his nights either driving aimlessly around the city or sitting by the beach, waiting for dawn. In the midst of this, Levi scribbles in a notebook, trying to find meaning in the chaos of his thoughts. Eventually, he receives an order to report to a military base. There, he encounters Bartholomew, a mysterious woman who doesn't wear the usual shoulder straps, marking her as an outsider. She reveals that she is a hired killer, and soon after Levi's psychiatrist discharges him, deeming him unable to continue his military service, Bartholomew offers him a new contract. Meanwhile, Drasa returns home to visit her mother's grave and to care for her terminally ill father. She shares the details of her latest mission with him, giving him a commemorative shell casing as a keepsake. Her father, who has been keeping mementos of his daughter's violent past in a special bag, listens solemnly. Drasa confesses her inner conflict. She is trapped in a life of violence and secrecy, and her superiors in Moscow have ordered her to disappear for a year on a special assignment. The real struggle, however, is that her father's health is rapidly declining. Drasa knows that he will either die during her absence or will choose to end his life on Valentine's Day, to spare himself from prolonged suffering. In September, Levi regained consciousness after anesthesia on board a helicopter. The female pilot, having confirmed his identity, hands him his personal belongings and then gives him the order to disembark and walk another 38 kilometers to the agreed point. Putting on a parachute, Levi obediently fulfills the task and jumps down. After landing, he walks through a picturesque area until he reaches a long gorge, the bottom of which is buried in thick fog. There he is met by his colleague JD, whom Levi has come to replace. JD brings him up to speed. The western and eastern sides of the gorge are controlled by autonomous observation posts equipped with generators and solar panels, owned by Western and Eastern European countries. Only one person is on duty at each post. Any contact between observers is prohibited. There is a small vegetable garden nearby, and there is a lot of game in the forest. The main task of the observer is to walk around the territory every day, monitor the integrity of the perimeter, check the operation of automatic machine gun turrets, replace suspended mines, and repair the fence in case someone from the gorge tries to break through. The only authorized communication session is held once a month. Antennas are installed around the perimeter to send false signals to satellites, making the gorge invisible from above. JD also warns that in the event of a security system failure or perimeter breach, a special protocol is activated from below and the air shield system is activated. In this case, you have to run as far away from here as possible. Most of the equipment here is from the 40s. After the Second World War, the West and the USSR entered into a secret agreement, which even the presidents do not know about, to protect the exit from the gorge from the so-called empty people. No one knows who they are, but when 3 cavalry battalions were sent into the gorge after the war to clear it, none of them returned. JD assumes that the entrance to the real hell is hidden below. The next morning, after seeing JD off, Levi begins to settle in a little. He doesn't know that his predecessor, having reached the evacuation point, gets a bullet in the forehead instead of a well-deserved rest and salary. This is immediately reported to Bartholomew. October arrives. Levi faithfully performs his routine duties all month long, patrolling the area, checking the gorge's defense system, inspecting the fence, counting mines, checking the turret's ammunition, and going on the only monthly communication session. Bored, he reads books from the meager library. Behind a bookcase, he finds favorite quotes left by previous observers written on the wall. One day, curiosity gets the better of him, and Levi looks through his binoculars to the other side of the gorge. There he notices a beautiful girl. Drasa, sensing in her heart that someone is looking at her, turns around, but without the optics she cannot see what is happening across the street. At night, during a thunderstorm, Levi experiences an attack of post-traumatic stress disorder. He jumps up suddenly, accidentally knocks over a glass of water, and injures his leg. While treating the wound, he notices that the lights are on in the tower across the street. His colleague is also awake. November arrives. Celebrating her birthday, Drasa goes overboard with cake and champagne, and then, feeling a lack of communication, decides to attract Levi's attention from across the gorge. She fires a shot in the air and writes a question on a piece of paper. After reading it through binoculars, Levi replies that contact is forbidden, but still succumbs to the provocation and offers to drink potato moonshine to her health. The festive conversation continues. Drasa wants to dance, so she asks Levi to turn on the music and provokes him to demonstrate his sniper skills by breaking his mug with a well-aimed shot. Levi responds by shooting at the bottle. When Drasa complicates the task by placing a second bottle on her head, she suddenly notices that automatic searchlights have turned on under her colleague's tower and are searching for targets. Leaning over the railing, Levi peers into the darkness and sees hideous-looking creatures. He opens fire on them, and then a suspended mine is activated. Throwing some of the attackers down, Drasa launches a large-caliber machine gun on his tower to help his comrades shoot down the monsters. As soon as they have killed all the creatures, another monster climbs out on Drasa's side. She starts shooting back, and now Levi has to help her with machine gun fire. In the process, suspended mines explode, hitting her shoulder with shrapnel. Then automatic turrets are activated, and the monster's attack ends. While Drasa treats her wound, Levi covers her with his rifle. The girl thanks him, saying that it was her best birthday ever. The next day, while cleaning up the aftermath of the night's attack, Levi and Drasa, who are covering each other, see a drone fly out of the fog below. It hovers in the air and then rapidly disappears in an unknown direction. In December, Levi decorates a tree near the tower with spare light bulbs, wishing his colleague a Merry Christmas. They continue to communicate throughout the month, playing chess and building snowmen. This goes on until February 14th. Drasa is sad, realizing that her father is dying at home at this time. She writes to Levi that she would like him to be with her. This request leads Levi to interesting thoughts, which leads to a burst of creativity. He takes a grenade launcher shell, unscrews the warhead from it, and unwinds a spool of rope in the yard. He secures one end to himself and attaches the other to the shell, which he fires toward the eastern tower. Drasa is shocked by this creative solution and ties the rope stretched over the gorge. Levi, having written an invitation to dinner, prepares for the date by shaving and gathering a modest bouquet of wildflowers. Catching hold of the rope, he accelerates and slides over the precipice. However, he fails to calculate his inertia and ends up hanging in the middle. Undaunted, he does what he has become accustomed to over the months of loneliness. He helps himself with his hands. Soon the colleagues meet face to face. Drasa has prepared a pie, but first she makes her guests take a shower and change into the clothes left by the previous observers. Then they have dinner, discussing their parents, work, and the past. The evening ends with dancing, which smoothly turns into something more interesting. Later, Levi admits that he writes poetry, and even composed one for Drasa, but flatly refuses to read it. In the morning, the guy is going to return to his side to make it to the monthly communication session. However, during the transportation, it turns out that they missed another attack. The monsters are already climbing the wall to the tower. They hit a mine, and a fragment breaks the cable. Levi falls into the fog, barely managing to activate the parachute. Without thinking twice, Drasa grabs her parachute and jumps after Levi. Flying through the yellow fog, she falls into a raging river, losing her rope climbing equipment. Levi wakes up hanging upside down in a tree, his parachute caught in the branches. He is attacked by a mutant caterpillar, which he barely manages to unhook from, and falls down into a sticky liquid. But what is much scarier is that it is part of a hungry predatory organism that slowly closes its jaws. The monster almost grabbed Levi when Drasa appeared, and by shooting off the monster's teeth, she helped the boy get out of the trap. They walk through the fog-covered forest to the eastern wall of the gorge to climb up the rope. But on the way, they are attacked by horsemen with sabers. Luckily, the bullets do a great job on the creatures. While reloading, Drasa realizes that she has lost the mechanism without which they will not overcome 500 meters of wall. So, they will have to look for a natural way out of the gorge. Looking at the attackers, Levi realizes that they are people from the same combat battalions, which means that they have been here for almost 80 years. The pair continues their journey through the eerie forest, which seems to consist of skeletons frozen in agony. Soon, they come to some old military base, where the flags of Great Britain, the USSR, and the United States are visible. The asphalt underfoot is cracked with deep sinkholes, suggesting an ancient earthquake. Entering the church, they see the remains of dead people in the pews. As the couple examines the building, they are attacked by spiders that have grown from human skulls. Then, empty people burst through the door, those who have completely lost their human form. Realizing that the situation is becoming critical, the observers blow up the wall and escape through the gap. To get to a safer place, they rush to the wall of the gorge where the entrance to the bunker is located. Inside is a scientific base covered with years of dust. Judging by the photo of the Yalta Conference, it is still from the 1940s. Levi finds a reel of film, and Drasa finds a propane generator. Starting it up, they charge the old projector and watch the recording. On the tape, scientists tell us that in 1946, after the creation of the atomic bomb, the West and the East built a secret base here to develop biochemical weapons of similar power. However, when an earthquake struck, the samples were released into the atmosphere, infecting everyone present. All those who lived in the gorge fused at the DNA level with the plants and are now spreading the biological contagion. However, contact with them is not so dangerous, because if you manage to escape within a few hours, you can avoid irreversible mutations. Levi finds modern equipment from the 2000s in the lab, which belongs to a private company. He realizes that they used to study biological material here with the help of drones, one of which they had already seen before. He also learns what the protocol means. If security is compromised, a nuclear bomb is activated, destroying everything within a 4-kilometer radius. The couple plans to get out of here before they get infected. However, on the way out, it turns out that the mutants are not so stupid. They stole a bag of ammunition and left it outside as a bait. When the girl tries to pick it up, she falls into a trap as the rider drags her away. Despite her attempts to cut the rope or shoot her captor, she faints. Levi follows her trail to save his friend. He comes to a missile silo where thick, poisonous red smoke rises. Drasa wakes up tied up in the lair of a mutant horseman. She beats the monster, and Levi's well-aimed shot puts an end to the duel. They get out of the mine, where the rocket damaged by the earthquake is located. It was the leakage of chemicals from such missiles that once led to the infection of the gorge. As they make their way through the thickets of rotting human flesh, they try not to touch it. However, Drasa accidentally steps on a sticky web and gets tangled in it. Levi has to use his saber to free her, but this provokes a certain reaction. To save herself, Drasa fires a grenade, burning the mutant to the ground. On the surface, they find a garage with ancient technology. Levi comes up with a plan to climb up the wall. They move towards the east wall. While Levi secures the rope, Drasa fights off the attacking monsters. Then she gets behind the wheel and steps on the gas. The Jeep slowly climbs the almost vertical rock. However, the hollow people do not think of giving up. They climb up the rock and rope. Clamping down on the gas pedal with a crate, the pair fights off the attackers, throwing them down. During the struggle, Levi hovers over the precipice and sets the monsters on fire with gasoline. The problem is that the Jeep is also in trouble. Then the woman cuts the rope, and they are forced to climb on their own. Fortunately, it's not far. At the top, Levi treats the woman's wounds, and then they discuss what to do next. They both realize that after the mission, they will most likely be eliminated. The girl suggests running away, but the guy objects. It won't solve the problem. Others will take their place, and the threat of infection will remain. To prevent this, the gorge must be destroyed. Levi lays a cable to the other side of the cliff to return to his post for the scheduled communication session. But instead of the usual procedure, Bartholomew takes over. She inquires about the situation. Levi lies that nothing happened, not realizing that his boss has a video of their trip to the gorge. Bartholomew orders him to eliminate the Eastern Observer, but realizing that he will not do so, he immediately assembles a team of militants. The next day, Levi and Drasa are laying a cable. As they do so, they see a helicopter approaching the tower and run for their lives. A cleanup team led by Bartholomew arrives at the West Post, but Levi has already disappeared. The woman orders the drones to be launched to find the fugitives and begins to search the premises. Meanwhile, snipers run through the mountains, and drones with machine guns chase them. During the firefight, a log falls on Levi, causing him to limp, but he shoots down both drones in turn. Drasa also disables his pursuers with an accurate shot and continues to escape. Having reached a certain point, they take up positions and prepare to fire. At this point, Bartholomew notices a secret message on the wall behind the bookcase. A quote from the Buddha is written there: "The sun, the moon, and the truth cannot be hidden for long." At this point, the snipers shoot at the explosives mounted on the antennas. A cord pulled in advance triggers a chain reaction. The pair drops their rifles and runs away as the antennas explode one by one, rendering the gorge invisible to satellites. Immediately after the last explosion, an air raid siren goes off, signaling the launch of the emergency protocol. Bartholomew and his mercenaries board a helicopter, trying to escape before a pre-planted nuclear bomb explodes in the gorge. The blast wave destroys everything around and throws Levi back. The limping boy falls into the river and slowly sinks to the bottom, while Drasa, who has moved away, watches the fiery hell behind. Later, she waits for her lover in a cave nearby, holding the envelope he gave her, in case she doesn't make it out in time. Without waiting for the boyfriend, the girl leaves for France. There, she continues to hope that he will come. But when all hopes disappear, she opens the farewell letter at sunset, as she was told to do. Inside, she finds poems that Levi had written before they met in April. Drasa takes a job as a waitress, trying to forget about her war past. One day, while serving another order, she notices Levi sitting at the next table, alive and well. The guy apologizes for being late for the meeting. The happy couple kisses against the seascape,